Let me be clear with you right from the start. Being unstoppable has nothing to do with luck. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with how smart you are, where you were born, or what cards you were dealt. Unstoppable people are built, not gifted. And they are built by mastering 3 skills that most people never even realize exist. Most people spend their lives chasing information, thinking the next book, the next video, the next secret will change everything. But information without transformation is useless. What actually separates those who dominate life from those who struggle is not what they know, but what they can consistently execute under pressure. The first skill is emotional mastery. This is the one nobody talks about enough. Your life is not controlled by your circumstances, it's controlled by the emotions you live in every day. The decisions you make when you're tired, when you're angry, when you're scared, when you're uncertain. That's where lives are shaped. Most people let their emotions control them. They wake up tired and act tired. They feel fear and stop moving. They feel overwhelmed and quit. Unstoppable people feel the same emotions, but they don't obey them. They train themselves to choose their state. They know that emotion is not truth, it's a signal. And the moment you stop reacting and start directing your emotional state, you stop being a victim of the moment. Think about it. 2 people face the same setback. One collapses, one rises. Same event, different response. The difference is not strength, it's skill. Emotional mastery means you can feel fear and still act. You can feel pain and still push forward. You can feel uncertainty and still decide. When you control your state, you control your actions. When you control your actions, you control your actions. You control your destiny. The second skill is clarity of direction. Most people are exhausted not because they do too much, but because they don't know why they're doing anything. They wake up busy but not fulfilled, moving but not progressing. Clear direction is a force multiplier. When you are clear on who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going, distractions lose their power, opinions lose their power, doubt loses its grip. You stop chasing everything and start committing to something. Clarity turns pressure into fuel. It turns obstacles into feedback. It turns failure into instruction. Unstoppable people don't need constant motivation because they are anchored to a purpose bigger than their mood. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" They ask, "What does my future require from me right now?" And that one question separates dreamers from doers. Without clarity, talent is wasted. Without clarity, effort is scattered. Without clarity, you quit when things get hard because you don't know what you're fighting for. But when clarity is locked in, quitting is no longer an option. You don't need confidence when you have conviction. The third skill is disciplined execution. This is where everything becomes real. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. It's doing what you said you would do long after the excitement fades. Most people wait to feel motivated. Unstoppable people move first and let motivation catch up. They understand a simple truth: action creates belief, not the other way around. Discipline is built in the moments no one sees. The early mornings, the boring repetitions, the days you show up tired and do it anyway. This is where identity is formed. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break one, your self-trust weakens. Over time, discipline becomes automatic. You stop negotiating with yourself, you stop starting over, you become consistent, and consistency is unstoppable. Here's what makes these 3 skills dangerous when combined. Emotional mastery keeps you stable under pressure. Clarity keeps you focused when distractions pull at you. Discipline keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Together, they make you unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Most people are waiting for the world to change before they do. Unstoppable people change first and force the world to respond. They don't need perfect conditions. They don't need permission. They don't need applause. They know that mastery is built through repetition, not recognition. If you master these 3 skills, you will not be stopped by failure, rejection, criticism, or fear. You will adapt, you will adjust, you will rise. Not because you're special, but because you trained yourself to operate at a higher standard. And that's the real secret. Unstoppable people are not superhuman. They are simply unwilling to live below their potential. Discipline is the moment where everything you say you want finally gets tested, because discipline is the bridge between intention and identity. Anyone can feel inspired. Anyone can get emotional listening to a speech. Anyone can imagine a better version of themselves. But discipline is where imagination gets exposed. Discipline is what shows whether you actually respect your future or just like thinking about it. Most people misunderstand discipline because they associate it with restriction, punishment, or force. But real discipline is alignment. It's when your actions finally match your words. It's when your behavior stops contradicting your vision. And that alignment is rare because it requires you to stop negotiating with yourself. The reason discipline feels so hard is not because the actions are difficult, but because your mind has been trained to seek comfort over growth. Every time you delay, every time you say later, every time you choose easy instead of necessary, you reinforce a pattern. Over time, that pattern becomes automatic. You don't even think about quitting, you just do. And then you wonder why confidence feels fake and motivation never lasts. Confidence is not something you think your way into. It's something you earn by keeping promises to yourself. Discipline is the process of earning your own trust back. Unstoppable people are not more disciplined by nature. They simply decided that their word matters. They decided that when they say they'll do something, they do it whether anyone is watching or not. And that decision changes everything. Because once your mind realizes you follow through, it stops resisting. Resistance comes from inconsistency. When your mind knows you'll quit anyway, it protects you from discomfort by creating excuses. When your mind knows you won't quit, it stops arguing and starts cooperating. This is why disciplined execution is quiet. There's no drama in it, no hype, no applause, just repetition, the same actions done again and again, especially on days when nothing feels rewarding. That's the part most people can't handle. They want progress to feel exciting. They want growth to feel validating. But real progress often feels boring. It feels lonely. It feels invisible. And that's where most people fall off. Not because they can't do the work, but because they expected the work to feel different. Discipline is choosing structure over mood. Mood changes daily. Structure compounds. When you rely on mood, your life becomes unpredictable. When you rely on structure, your progress becomes inevitable. You don't wait to feel like working. You work because it's scheduled. You don't wait to feel confident. You act because it's required. Over time, feelings follow behavior, not the other way around. This is where people get it backwards. They wait for confidence to act, but confidence only comes after repeated action. Every time you do the hard thing you said you would do, something shifts internally. You don't notice it immediately, but it's happening. Your self-image updates. You start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. Someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted. And once that identity forms, discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like who you are. You don't debate whether to show up. You show up because not showing up would feel wrong. This is why disciplined execution is the most powerful skill you can develop. Talent opens doors, but discipline keeps them open. Intelligence creates ideas, but discipline turns them into results. Motivation starts journeys, but discipline finishes them. Without discipline, everything else leaks. With discipline, everything else amplifies. Most people think they need to do more. What they actually need is to quit quitting, to stop resetting every time it gets uncomfortable, to stop starting over and over again. The fastest way to change your life is to stop breaking promises to yourself. Start small if you have to, but make them non-negotiable. Not because the action itself is life-changing, but because the identity you build by honoring it is. Discipline is also about removing decisions. Decision fatigue destroys execution. When you leave things open-ended, your mind will choose comfort. When you decide in advance, the friction disappears. You don't ask yourself if you're going to train today. You already decided. You don't ask if you're going to work on your goals. It's already scheduled. This is how unstoppable people operate. They don't rely on willpower. They design their life so willpower is barely needed. And understand this deeply, discipline is not about perfection. You will miss days. You will slip. You will fall short. The difference is you don't quit because of it. You don't turn one mistake into a new identity. You get back on track immediately. That's discipline too. Not punishing yourself, not spiraling, not giving up, just returning to the standard. Discipline also teaches you emotional neutrality toward discomfort. You stop labeling things as good or bad based on how they feel. You start seeing them as necessary. Necessary actions don't require excitement. They require commitment. And commitment is not emotional. It's contractual. It's a decision you made when you were clear, not when you were tired. The more disciplined you become, the calmer your life gets. Less chaos, less stress, less regret. Because you're no longer fighting yourself every day. You're no longer dragging yourself toward things you said you wanted. You move automatically, and that calmness is strength. That's what people feel when they say someone has presence. It's not loud, it's grounded. This is why disciplined execution makes you unstoppable. Not because it makes you aggressive or extreme, but because it makes you consistent. And consistency beats intensity every time. Intensity burns out. Consistency compounds. Over weeks, months, years, disciplined actions create a gap so wide that people start calling it talent, luck, or destiny. But it was discipline all along, applied quietly, relentlessly, without needing to be seen. When you reach this point, you no longer need motivation. You no longer wait for the right mood. You no longer depend on external validation. You execute because it's who you are. And when execution becomes identity, stopping doesn't even cross your mind, because quitting would mean becoming someone you no longer recognize.